Okay, welcome back to video diary number 2. It is Friday, the 15th of September, and 1 week since I last did one of these, and it's been a really good week. It's been like, definitely haven't struggled with coming up with ideas, or like some sort of creative block. If anything, I've struggled with like my mind racing, going like way too fast with all of the ideas that I want to try. And I think that's probably just like start of the project. And I've been thinking about it for months, and so there's obviously everything that I've been thinking about for months that I've wanted to try as soon as I start. And now I've started, I'm like so excited to just do all of them that my brain like has a really hard time focusing on something for more than 5 seconds. But despite having given myself headaches, like literal headaches from feeling so stressed and shit about everything, and my mind racing, it's been like really productive week. And I think that stress and sort of like fervent creativity has actually turned into something, as opposed to me just like sitting at home watching Netflix because I can't decide what to do. So that is really good. I feel really great about it. I started the week by checking on those samples that I had put in the ebonising solution, and they came out of the ebonising solution looking pretty dark. But then over the course of the week, they sort of turned this colour, which is like not that ideal. You see that? Yeah. I was hoping that it was going to be really dark, and it was really dark initially. And I did even wax some of them straight away, but even then they turned like this like bluey grey silvery colour. But this was, I think, the first thing that I made as a sculptural exploration. You can see they're all different layers, and it's all ash, and those were their like a 12mm, 6mm, and a 3mm, and that had sat in the ebonising solution over the weekend. And then the like inlay rebate is all 3mm, and so that's flush, that's 3mm above, and that is 9mm above, which is a thing. I think it was at this point where I was still thinking really like furniture-y, really cahootsy in my head. And then I was quite like disappointed with the colour I was getting out of the ebonising solution. And I know I really hate it when people just like gratuitously burn wood or scorch wood to make it black, but I thought I'd give it a go. So bought this and did a couple of tests. Well, this was the first test, and I don't know if you can see, yeah, look, there you go. And so what I did was I scorched it, and then I rubbed it down with wirewool and ebonising solution. And so I was hoping I was going to get like this double black effect. And what it did was kind of insane, and I'm sure most people know this, but I didn't know this, is that when you rub it down with steel wool, especially after you scorch it, you're basically, the softer summer growth in the tree or in the piece of wood burns, I guess, a lot more. And so when you rub it back with wire wool, you get this like texture that you can see there. And it's sort of like, it's made the sides really, which were like, you know, square off the saw and sharp, it's completely de-arrised them in like this really natural way that I think is lovely. And this is something that I didn't experiment with this week, but I'm really, really keen to experiment with next week, because I think there's real mileage in this. I've got this idea of creating this like sort of vortex-y weaved in and out shape in these black things. Also like chair seats, chair backs. I want to make a chair back out of this, partly because it's just so comfy, like, you know, there's no arris on it at all, and it's so tactile to touch. Anyway, so I wanted to scale it up a bit, and make something a bit more, yeah, I guess because that's just a test sample, I wanted to make something that was sort of an object. And so I scorched a bunch of different pieces of wood and then chopped them up and then glued them onto, so I've laminated this piece, these pieces were all scorched here, and then this piece was never scorched obviously, and I glued it on top of the scorched pieces. And you can see it's like multiple pieces because you can, I've got focus, because you can see all these joins around the outside, because I wasn't really trying to make it very good. Especially because there is such sort of rounded arris on it that I knew you'd be able to see all of the, look, you can see all of the lines in the joins there. And I kind of wanted that, and so I didn't want to make the joins like, I thought there was no point in making the joins super perfect, because part of it was about being able to see that rounded arris. And I actually think that this checkerboard effect is super, I don't even know if you can see it, yeah you can, is like actually really subtle and really nice, because it's all black. It sort of, it sort of takes away from that like gaudiness of the checkerboard that is sometimes a bit much, and makes it really subtle and nice. And I was really happy with this, despite, and yeah, and so then I just spoke shaved round to make that neat like circle there that isn't button. And I thought, and the texture of this is just like unbelievably nice. Tom's mum's furniture wax, just making everything look gorgeous basically. So I was happy with this, but I was very much like in a sort of carpentry, furniture-y, cahootsy mindset. And then on Wednesday, I think, I went to go and pick up my surfboard and tucked into a bit of this, the David Nash book, that is a constant source of inspiration, and I think he's just like the most, I don't know, if I could have had anyone's career, probably would have been this man's. Just like loads of really amazing pieces of sculpture, all in wood, all like really rough, and I guess I've been joking saying I've entered my David Nash rip-off era, which I think is fine because I'm not, you know, trying to sell any of this shit, and it has really helped completely switch my head from like much quicker than I thought. I thought I'd have to like ease myself into that sort of sculptural mindset, but this has just been so good for just flipping my headspace, which then took me to, then over the last weekend I also visited the fossil forest in Dorset, which was quite a big one in terms of inspo. So when I was like breaking down what I was like looking at these images and doing these drawings. By the way, drawing has become a massive part of my practice and I absolutely love it. And so basically the tree was growing in here, and then the sea levels rose, and it was like limestone build up underwater, and then obviously the tree rotted out inside. And I think there's a really nice symbol there of death and like what is left behind from something after something dies. And the ash tree is dying, and what is left behind, what if the ash tree was fossilised? There would be like a preserve, or something would be preserved of it. And I just like that sort of notion of death and like what is left after death. and the fossil forest was just so amazing, and it kind of led me into this visual motif of the black circle, because obviously there's a black circle left in the middle of the fossil where the tree was growing, and this is what kind of led me to this, which was the first piece that I made that I thought was like actually had some like sculptural sensibilities to it. And so you can see, at least I hope you can see, yeah, so there was a branch growing out of this pieces of wood, and so there was a knot in the board. So the tree would have been growing up like this, and there would have been a branch coming out like this. And so I thought that outwardness was the sort of tree, and then, or where the tree would have been in the fossil forest. And so I thought I would black it out as if that branch had died. And so I routed out that circle and scorched it and then planed it back. And I left a right angle on it because after reading the David Nash book, and this isn't something that he really mentioned, but it just sort of triggered something in my mind of like the right angle being the carpenter's mark and not leaving everything super organic shape, because this isn't a tree, this is something that I've made as a carpenter or as an artist or whatever. And so that is why those two things look like that, which is cool to have made something that is, I think actually looks kind of cool, and actually has a reason for existing. So that was quite a good moment for me, making that. But obviously the board in this instance is like that, and so I decided that I really wanted to work with some green wood, because I could get a big butt of green ash, and that would be actually like the tree growing like that, like in the fossil forest. And so I got some massive bits of ash from Sussex Timber Company, which is what I did on Thursday, and I wanted to create this sculpture that I've got drawn out here. So yeah, you can see I kind of was drawing that blacked out bit that I'd done before there and that is the piece that I made. And then I started drawing the blacked out bit and then playing around with paper, cutting out that, drawing through, and I was like, what if these were two pieces of wood? And that I cut a hole out in the top piece and scorched it through to the bottom piece, which is what led to this. And then I was going to peg all four corners, but it sort of held itself up with the one corner, and I thought actually this is really ugly as an object, and I didn't like it. So I tried to, on this piece, the smaller piece, cut where the heart of the tree was, so you can see I've cut that out, and I just scorched the insides of it, and I kind of like where that was going, but there was something still a bit weird about it maybe, and so I cut up a bunch more of these and tried to peg them into a flat piece, and so they were just all coming out of this flat piece of wood. They just look really bad. And then I took these riven bits of ash took these riven bits of ash, which were just sort of like offcuts basically from the pegs that I was making, and they were just so unbelievably lovely after I ebonized them. Like the smoothness of the curves is just like, I kind of fell in love with these as objects basically. And so I thought, what about if it wasn't a hole that was going through the piece of wood, but that this was the central piece that was going through like this and holding these pieces together, which is what brought me to final piece of work that I've done this Friday, which is this. So you can see, again, I've drilled out where the heartwood in the tree would be, and basically passed this thing through the centre of it. And so this is almost like a reconstruction of the tree, that this is the heartwood, and then this is me sort of like creating that squareness of the carpenter's mark. And I know I sort of lose that sense of something growing around a dead interior of a tree, like the fossil with the black inside and then the white limestone. But I tried these, and so I started with this as just scorched timber, and then these left white, but they just looked really horrid. And then I burnt one of them, and they just like instantly turned into these like really precious feeling objects, like these like rare stones, and I instantly thought fossil. They've got these like the lines running through them, the texture that just feels really like fossil-like. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna burn them all. Which I know is naughty, but I think that this is the best piece that I've made so far. And then how that ends there, I really like, and that is something that can definitely be featured in furniture at the bottom of legs. Yeah, you can see where these are pegged through as well. So I'm kind of liking where this is going. I think there's still a bit more thinking about what this one means, but it was really fun to make. I really enjoyed it, and I made these little pins underneath that you can see, which were nice, just out of green. And I think this is basically riffing off of the black core of the fossil, which is this central bit running up through it. And then this is like, I guess, more of a fossilised ash tree. And then the blackening is a reference to ash dieback. Obviously, this whole fucking project's about ash dieback. But the blackening is a reference to the blackening of the leaves and the stem that happens in ash dieback. And also the fire, turning the wood black with fire, is also a reference to like the waste wood of ash all being turned into firewood, which is exactly what all of these were destined to be when I picked them up from Sussex Timber Company. They all were going to be firewood. And so I guess, yeah, that's this week. Next week I just got Monday and Tuesday before I go to Portugal, London Design Fair on Monday and Plashet's Wood on Tuesday morning, and then maybe Tuesday afternoon, just rounding everything up before I go away. But so far so good. I'm really loving it, and I really like where this is going. And basically I've just been following my nose on a lot of the decision making that I've been doing, and I think that is fine. And I think that I've sort of based enough of it in like sort of actual decision making rather than just like randomly following my nose, and that this has really come from this, which has really come from the fossil forest. And I think that, you know, these aren't random pieces of work. I know I'm sort of defending myself to myself right now, and I think that's because I feel a bit insecure that this is maybe slightly random about ash dieback, but I don't think I have to worry too much. I think I'm really enjoying following my nose at the moment, and I think that is where I make good work, and not worrying the whole time about whether the work is like super directly linked to ash dieback. So yeah, all very exciting. I'm happy with how it's going, and I feel really positive about it. Catch you next Friday.